Okay, so I know I look like hell and I probably sound like hell. I have a sinus infection and it's slowly moving down into my chest. Um, so I started getting a little bit of symptoms Saturday, and there's a good reason why I'm telling you all this. So, trust me, I'm not complaining just about a sinus infection with all that I've been through before. Saturday, for some reason, I just did not want to get out of bed. Like, I felt horrible. Like, just achy all over. And I really didn't feel the sinus infection part until later on that night. For some reason, I just kept sneezing. And we had just cleaned the house. We have a problem with my fur child. She sheds a lot, and I had just swept. The whole house had just vacuumed and everything. So I'm like, okay, maybe that caused it because it was just the day before when I did that, whatever. So I took my normal medications, and then I took my allergy medication and went back to sleep. Sunday when I woke up, I was sneezing constantly. Sneezing. And my left nostril just would not stop running. And then I had all this crap up in here, and I was like, okay, maybe I just need to take a Benadryl. You know, my eyes were watering and everything, so I was like, okay, it's my allergies. So, I took the little handy vac that we have, and I tried to get up any dog hair that was around me, and I took Benadryl, and I took a nap. And when I woke up, it was like 10 times worse. My throat was sore, which sometimes happens after I take Benadryl, because when I take Benadryl, sometimes it dries me out too much. But I'd only taken one. I'm pretty sure I'd only taken one, because I didn't want it to dry me out too much. And as I'm on the phone, the person I'm talking to asks me, "Are you sick?" And I'm like, "Do I really sound that bad?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, I'm sucking on a milkshake right now to try to soothe my throat." I was like, because I took some Benadryl, I think it dried me out too bad. And that felt a snot ball. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously it didn't dry me out. So I've got a sore throat now. So yeah, I guess I am sick. Luckily, the sore throat only lasted throughout that night. I ate a bunch of ice cream, and luckily the sore throat stopped Sunday night. However, I got so dizzy, and just snot everywhere. Just snot. Like, that's all I can say is just snot. Just sitting here talking right now, I would be so dizzy. I would be sitting here going like this, because I would be trying to balance myself when I'm already balanced. I know this is gross, but I haven't had a shower in a couple of days, because my boyfriend works 11 a to 11 p, and I'm afraid I'm going to get one today now that I'm not as dizzy. But I have been afraid to get in the shower by myself, even with my shower chair. That's how dizzy I've been. So I'm getting a shower today. Like, I'm not as dizzy, so I'm getting in the shower. I feel gross. My hair is like a grease ball. But now it's moving down. Like, I woke up and I'm like, oh, I feel better. You know, I'm not as achy. That was another thing. One of the points I wanted to bring up with this was the other night I kept waking up from me shouting. I had joint pain and muscle and skin pain, and it wasn't my normal pain. It was like electrical shocks. It literally felt like somebody was standing over me with some kind of like cattle prod or car battery or something, and stabbing me with it in random places whenever I fell asleep. And I've never experienced that before. I had taken all my medications that I was supposed to, so it's not like I missed a dose of something and it messed with something. I was unable to regulate my temperature. That's still kind of an issue. It's not that big of an issue. I kind of froze my boyfriend out last night because I had the fan going on. And to me it was cold, but I was like, if you turn that fan off, I'm going to sweat to death. Because even though I'm cold, I'm sweating. And I took my temperature with 2 different thermometers, with a temple one and one that goes underneath your arm or your mouth up underneath my arm. They both read 98.6, which is a slight elevation for me because my temperature usually runs low. But it's not a fever high enough to cause symptoms like that. So I was having trouble with temperature regulation. But I told him, you cut that fan off, I'm going to wake up in a pool of my own sweat. And of course he did this morning when he got up. And I woke up and I thought I had pissed the bed. And luckily when I moved, I realized, no, it's just my sweat. And I look up and the ceiling fan's off. So it's back on now. And I'm still sweating, even though I don't feel hot. I'm sweating. It's the weirdest thing. But it's not as bad as it was. So I feel better. I'm not walking around a little more. I probably don't sound any better, but I feel better. Even though now, just in the past couple hours, it's been moving down in my chest, and now I'm really trying to get up and move around, so that it doesn't turn into bronchitis, because I have chronic bronchitis. The reason why I'm bringing this up, even making a video about this, is because I'm working on a theory, and I really want people to watch this and comment on this. Your experience with this, with being floxed and with any type of infections. Now, last time I had a sinus infection was probably almost a year ago. So it was in my floxed area. It was before my recovery, because I'm just now entering what I think is a recovery. But I'm used to getting sinus infections pretty frequently. And I've noticed since my major episode in 2013, now, to give you a timeline so this is easier to follow, I was floxed presumably in 2008. Now, from 2008 to 2013, I did have my bronchitis and my sinus infections, though not as bad, not nearly as bad pre-2008. Not nearly as often. Let me rephrase that. Not nearly as often pre-2008. In 2013, after my most serious episode, I think I had 2 sinus infections. One of them was last year, or about a year ago-ish. And I was put on Keflex, which was an antibiotic that I had recently had right before that, for that UTI that I was talking about that I had for a year. And when I took the Keflex for almost a month, I had no adverse reactions to the Keflex. So they went ahead, since I told them that I think I may have antibiotic sensitivity. This is before I even found out about the FQT. I knew nothing about it. But I knew there was something about antibiotics that was messing with me. I was already on the trail of the fluoroquinolones. I just hadn't gotten there yet. I knew for some reason every time they give me an antibiotic, something bad happens. So they went ahead and said, okay, well, the last one you had was Keflex. You didn't have a symptom, take the Keflex. And I already had a refill, already had it at home. So they told me, just look it up in your PDR, da-da-da, take this, da-da-da. And I looked at it and I said, well, it says take this and this and this. And they said, that sounds fine. Let me check with the doctor. I'll give you a call back. They called me back within like 5 minutes and said, yeah, take that. I took that after 2 days of having the Keflex. You'd think an adverse reaction would show right up with it. That was my experience so far with antibiotics, as far as I knew. I then developed a rash starting on my chest. So I thought, again, I had scarlet fever. So I continued the Keflex for another 2 days before the rash got worse. And I realized it wasn't scarlet fever, it was the antibiotic. Because not even 24 hours after I stopped the antibiotic, the rash was almost completely gone. So I pretty much stopped the Keflex and just let nature run its course, and eventually the infection went away. It took probably a lot longer than it should have, but it eventually went away. Luckily, it didn't turn into pneumonia. That is my issue with bronchitis. Pre-2008, well, pre-2013, but especially pre-2008. Anytime I'd get bronchitis, if it wasn't treated immediately with an antibiotic, it would turn into pneumonia within just a few days. So that's my timeline, okay? I was floxed in 2008. Between then, for some reason, my asthma, chronic bronchitis, and chronic sinusitis, I guess you'd call it, started to not happen as often. And my asthma was almost gone completely. It was only exercise-induced asthma. And then after 2013, my major episode, like I said, I've had 2 sinus infections. And this is the second one. So, and this is part of my recovery. Like, I'm in recovery now. And the only one I had, I was in between symptoms. I was starting to feel good. I remember I was working, because I remember going to work with the rash. So I wasn't very symptomatic as far as the FQT. So my theory is the FQT doing something to the immune system, causing us not to get sick with the chronic ailments that we get and the other ailments that we get. And then as soon as we go into recovery, it's almost like our immune system is reborn. So I said it to my mom last night. I'm trying to remember how I said it. It's almost like whenever I was having the symptoms of being floxed, it's like my immune system was constantly go, 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 go. And it was constantly on defense. And now that I'm not having the symptoms of the toxicity, my immune system is almost like, okay guys, we can take 5. And I'm wondering if that's what let the infection in. And my body is kind of tricked into thinking all is good now. So that's kind of a theory that I'm working on to see if other people are experiencing that, that you had less infections, whether viral or bacterial, but less illnesses, less, I don't want to say illnesses, but less infections, while you were the most sick with FQT symptoms versus more infections when you have, or more often infections when you have the least amount of FQT symptoms. I'm trying to see if there's a correlation between the two. Another thing is I've noticed in the past couple weeks, my body is not accepting my piercings, and I've never had that issue before. I've always used the right metal. I use stainless steel, surgical steel, sterling silver, whatnot. But I always look at it, and when I see it, I know that's the right type. I don't use anything that tarnishes too much. I mean, I've had this in my lip forever. It's not tarnished. Even the colored, I was even afraid to put the colored titanium. It's you can't see on this. I have really shitty camera on my computer, but it's the color chromed, I think is what it's called, on the titanium. I don't mind using titanium, but the color chrome scared me because it rubs off and it tarnishes. It hasn't rubbed off, and I've had these in since day one. I've traded the tins out for the plugs, but I kept taking the plugs out because they're hard to clean out. But the 14 gauges that I have in, I've had these in since day one, and that's been a very long, I mean, I think I lived back at the other apartment, so months since I've pierced them. Yeah, I pierced them back. I think I lived in my apartment, so it's been many, many months. I actually today, you can still see the hole, I think. Not this is an actual piercing, but right below it, I had to take my lower helix out today, because I noticed the other day, there's a huge, what I thought was a keloid behind it, that like grew overnight, which was really weird to me. I don't clean them as often as, say, like a professional would tell you to, but I keep my piercings clean. Okay, I'm very, very adamant on that. I don't want them to get all gunky and stuff, and I don't want infection. Okay, because I don't want an antibiotic unless I have to get one. That's why this shit's moving to my chest, because I was trying to let it wait out before I went and got an antibiotic. I thought it was fine until a couple hours ago when it started moving down my chest. So now, tomorrow morning, if it's not gone, I've got to go to urgent care and get an antibiotic. But I'm staying only with penicillins. And I'll get to that point in a minute. But with the metals, I had them in forever. My fear with the cartilage, when I did my piercings, the cartilage piercings, I was afraid that they were going to hurt forever. Because whenever I did the top cartilage piercing several years ago, I had it in for over 1.5 years, and it still hurt until I took the damn thing out. It was cleared up. It was not infected. It was fine. I had 3 separate piercers, professional piercers, look at it. They said there's nothing wrong with it. There wasn't even a keloid there, and there's not a keloid there at all where I had it pierced. I thought there was, but come to find out, it's actually a blood vessel. That what I'm feeling right here isn't even where it was pierced. And I just have sensitive cartilage. So whenever I did my helixes, my helix piercings, I was afraid with it being in cartilage. I was afraid, especially the upper one, I was afraid it was going to hurt for a very long time. But surprisingly, it was the lower one that did. I watched how I slept and everything. Well, the other day, like I said, I had Mount Vesuvius in the back, and I cannot bend my ear back like this. I can bend my ear like this to show you. That is how sensitive this ear is right now. This is as far as I can move my ear. That is how sensitive it is right now. It has been killing me. And finally this morning, I tilted my head up and I asked my boyfriend, I said, can you carefully take one of the blue balls off and then slowly slide it out? I don't even care about the damn piercing anymore. I just want it the fuck out of my ear. I mean, it's killing me. Well, then when I went to the bathroom, I felt behind there, and it felt like I have. It's gotten big again. I gotta milk it again. I felt like I had a huge keloid. Like, it feels like I got a big nipple back there. It's a big pus ball. It got infected. And I don't know how it got infected, because, especially these two, I clean these two, because they're the newest piercings. I clean these two almost every day with the salt water. And this This one I have absolutely, I can tug at this and turn it and everything. I have no problem with it whatsoever. It doesn't hurt. Which surprised the hell out of me because I thought the further up I went, the more it would hurt. And then I noticed that when I was playing with my earrings, every now and then I kind of sit here and I not really play with them, but I check the balls and I make sure that they're on tight. And I was sitting there going through them, and when I got to this one, it felt sore. I was like, okay, so I went in there and immediately rinsed it out with salt water. And when I looked at it, it was red. And I don't know why it would be red. And my lip is also starting to look infected. And I clean it as well. So for some reason my body is doing something that I'm not aware of, I'm being aware of, but I just don't know what the hell it is. So it's like I went into recovery from the toxicity, and now I've got all these infections popping up. So that's another thing I kind of want to know. Is there any correlation between that? Is anybody else experiencing that? Not just piercings, but just any infections at all. Because I want to choke it up to. I have to get this birth control changed out. I switched from the NuvaRing, which is estrogen, and I switched to the arm implant, which is progesterone. And I'm having a lot of lady problems with that. And another problem that I'm having is I'm having breakouts all over my face, chest, and back. So what are breakouts? Well, they're infected pores. That's what a pimple is. So I'm wondering, if, I wash my face every day. Even if I don't get a shower, I still wash my face. So I'm wondering if that may have something to do with hormones, whatever. And this started before recovery, the breakouts and such. So, but the whole rejecting piercings and stuff, that is brand new. So if anybody has anything like that, please share with me. Now, going back to the point of the whole antibiotics, here is my stance on having an infection or taking antibiotics. I, by no means, am a doctor. I am not a medical practitioner. I'm not telling you this as medical advice. This is my personal opinion and what I personally will do. So you cannot sue me if you do this and something happens, okay? But this is just my personal belief, okay? So if you don't agree with me, then don't do what I say I'm gonna do, okay? You can either agree with me or disagree with me. Just take this as it is, okay? My mother was talking to me, and she's like, well, you need to go, and you need to go get antibiotics. And I'm like, you know how I feel about antibiotics. I know it's the fluoroquinolones that are the issue, but you know how I feel about antibiotics, because it's not just fluoroquinolones that I had reactions to, because it seemed like any freaking medication they put in my mouth, I had a reaction to. So I'm very weary about medications, period. I don't even like taking the amount that I have already. So antibiotics to me are a last resort. If I have a sinus infection or anything like that, I'm going to let nature take its course and see what it does. Now, if I have a sore throat for more than a day or two, I'm probably going to go and get a shot of Rocephin and ask for a penicillin type of antibiotic. Penicillin antibiotics to me are the safest ones to go by. And because I know that sore throat's not going to go away on its own. That means there's something else going on. If I have an ear infection, I'm probably going to go straight to the doctor and get get an antibiotic because I'm a little bitch when it comes to that, and I don't do ear infections. I had tubes in my ears as a child several times. I've had many, many, many ear infections. I've had olive oil in my ears many, many times. I don't do ear infections. That's just me personally. The sinus infection, I let it run its course for a couple days. Is now, I don't even know what today is. I'll taste Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. I started having these symptoms about Saturday-ish. So I waited that long. It's now moving to my chest. I know my body. So I know what can happen when it moves to my chest. I know that it can turn into bronchitis, which can turn into pneumonia, which then can turn into me being in the fucking hospital and then them giving me Levaquin because then it's needed. So to avoid that, I'm going to go to urgent care and ask for some simple amoxicillin and see what that does for me. Or azithromycin, even though last few times I took that, it didn't work. And they actually stopped prescribing azithromycin. Some people know it as Z-Pak. They stopped prescribing it for a while because they said it wasn't working anymore. And then they started prescribing it again, like candy. I'll be researching into that now that I'm thinking about that. Anyways, I've rambled on enough about my mucousness. That's just a theory that I'm working on. Infections, both of the viral and bacterial type. The correlation between that and the symptoms of FQT. More or less, are you more susceptible to them? Are you more susceptible to the bacterial and viral infections during recovery? After the symptoms of FQT subside? That's something I want to look into. Because I've actually spoke to somebody here recently who mentioned they had a cold. Just we were talking in passing. They had been floxed as well. They recently went into recovery as well. And just in passing, they mentioned they had a cold. And that was it. I mean, and we just continued our conversation. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, and then we continued our conversation. And now looking back on that, I'm wondering if there's any correlation with that. So please, I know this is a long video. I hope you've stuck in with me for it. Please comment or whatever with any information you may have on that, personal relation to that. Or if you know of anybody or know of anybody who knew of anybody. So yeah, I'll stop now.